The Port of Montreal is a 26-kilometer-long zone along the south shore of the island. For obvious reasons, the Port of Montreal has a limited number of access points and is highly restricted. Therefore, the Port of Montreal has its own team of fire and safety workers. If a fire were to happen, they are responsible, as first responders, to plan for intervention and call the appropriate emergency services. In collaboration with Preview 3D, the training simulator project based on Port of Montreal's 3D scanning data saw the light of day. The simulator allows for training officers to create different scenarios anywhere in the digital twin of the port so that in the event of a real incident, the trainees are ready to react. The objective is to familiarize the teams with the entire area, prepare them to act fast and make appropriate decisions, as well as offering a maximum level of safety if a situation were to actually happen. Here's an example of how it works. Trainer mode allows for trainers to create different scenarios across the entire area of the port. A scenario is a set of successive dangers that will appear in the digital twin, and the trainee must plan their emergency response. For example, the trainer creates a scenario and places external factors in the surrounding area to which the trainee must respond to the best of their ability. A fire, a chemical or gas leak, an explosive container are some of the various possibilities to create a scenario in order to observe and evaluate the reaction and decision-making process of the trainee to rectify the scenario. Once in trainee mode, the dangers appear successively in the digital twin and the trainee must react and plan their response. In case of a fire, the trainee must take into account the meteorological factors, define a secure zone, and place the appropriate resources to fight the fire. The trainee could think and plan for firefighters, police officers, emergency vehicles, but also identify where the closest fire hydrants are to allow for a faster response. Following the correct response procedure, the trainee will now be able to put out the fire at the source according to the actual context. If the trainee reacts too slowly or makes a wrong decision, the fire can worsen and create a chain reaction of effects. The reaction to the danger will be evaluated by the training staff and therefore the simulator will play an important role in the trainee's learning. This type of highly valuable technological application is an amazing demonstration of the value of innovation and collaboration between a young startup like Preview 3D and a well-established organization such as Port of Montreal.
The Port of Montreal is the second largest port in Canada. We are also the fifth largest container port on the east coast of North America. We're a diversified port. And like many other ports and many other businesses, the Port of Montreal is fully committed to digital transformation, and we aim to be North America's smart port.
Preview 3D is a software company based in Montreal. Our goal is to make the reality capture data accessible to everyone. Today, in the manufacturing industry, most people still use a software called AutoCAD to do their floor plans. And I thought a few years ago that we could bring something different to help engineers and project managers collaborate better in their projects.
So there were three business drivers behind the project. The first one was the Grand Quay. In 2017, we renovated our cruise terminal and opened a port center for the general public. So at the Grand Quay, we now have an immersive 3D experience for Montrealers to enjoy the port. The second driver was the Contrecoeur container terminal we have planned in the next couple of years. So with the 3D planning tool, we now have a state-of-the-art simulation and planning to simulate operations at this state-of-the-art container terminal. And the third business driver, finally, is marketing. So having the opportunity for future customers or users to see the port in 3D is so much more powerful than in 2D. There was one additional business driver behind the project, was fire prevention training. In the end, both the startup and the Port of Montreal had a common vision, was to democratize and make accessible a 3D simulation tool for the average Port of Montreal employee. So we met Preview 3D at Santec, which is one of North America's leading accelerators of startups. They have over there the Collision program, which is big business meets startup under one roof. The aim for the Port of Montreal, obviously, is to accelerate our innovation cycle. So what we do is we throw real-life challenges at startups to build proof of concepts on emerging technology solutions. So another objective is to access talent in the technology sphere. And finally, the Santec offers innovation coordination. So this means that they will coordinate and intermediate between big business and startup based on business needs and technological match.
Santec was for me a way to learn the job I had in front of me. When I presented my solution for the first time back in 2017, I was in front of 27 engineers of one of the largest milk group in Canada. Over the next 3 months, I traveled across Canada and captured 3 full plants. When I entered Santec, I discovered that I had a lot of challenge ahead of me in order to become a successful entrepreneur. This journey also led me to go through different programs, starting with the acceleration programs. And once I got into the propulsion program, they presented me to something different. They brought to the opportunity of a collision program, which led me to meet Port of Montreal.
Let me tell you how I met Nicolas. So at the Port of Montreal, we have one of the largest scale model in Canada. It's a full-scale model of the port. He came to our offices and looked at the model, and we said we would like to give this model a digital life and digitize the scale model. And then he turned around and says, no, let's do the entire port for real and using drones. So I said, okay, let's try it. And he says, well, why not think big and start small? So we went along this adventure and decided to fly drones over the 26 kilometers of the facilities, which allowed me to tell you a little bit about the open innovation concept. So in a traditional procurement process, the Port of Montreal would identify the problem, devise a solution, and then go on a request for proposals to find solution providers. In an open innovation concept, what we do is we identify the problem jointly with the startup, we devise the solution together, and then co-innovate and co-develop the solution and apply the solution. So obviously, one of the challenges for this project was to scan the 26 kilometers of port facilities at the port. Knowing that the port has over 200 tenants and 26 different terminals, this was a huge undertaking and a very significant coordination effort.
The Port of Montreal project was a project way larger than anything we've done before. We're talking about almost 850 acres of 3D model to be captured. This project was not only a challenge in terms of operation, because we had to make sure the weather was good, that we had the opportunity to go on the client site and coordinate this along a 26-kilometer stretch on the south shore of Montreal. This project led us to improve our solution in order to deliver a quality result up to everyone's expectation. I believe this project was also a nice opportunity to showcase to the world what we could accomplish using a small company technology. The Port of Montreal project represents nearly 850 acres of 3D model to be captured. In order to do so, we really had to challenge the technology. Using drone, the operation along the 26-kilometer stretch of the Port of Montreal took months of planification. After, we took all the images and generated a very high level of detailed 3D model. Once that was done, we used our technology in order to deliver it to Port of Montreal. Various use cases can be then envisioned. As you saw at the introduction, Today, we're using the digital twin of Port of Montreal to help the fire and safety department train their team to have a better opportunity to intervene when they have actual real issue happening at the port. This is just one of the use cases we're working with Port of Montreal in order to help their practice and make things better for the entire organization.
So some of the challenges and lessons learned during this project have to deal with the partnership between big business and startup. For example, startups work at a much faster pace than big business does, and also on the procurement and legal aspects. For example, I was sitting down with my procurement director one day. I remember very clearly. He says, looking at Google Maps, saying, "Hey, this startup lives in a basement. Do they have a lawyer? Do they have insurance?" I said, "No, we have to deal with startups." So we had to go back and actually amend our procurement policy to be able to work with startup in an agile mode.
The Port of Montreal project was not only a challenge from a technology standpoint, but also from a legal standpoint. For me, when I started to negotiate with the port, we were actually just two persons in the company. This meant I didn't have the same resources in order to negotiate all the aspects of the contract. I was really lucky to get a very nice collaboration with the port, which helped us define and shape the project both from an operation standpoint and from a legal standpoint. I think this opportunity to work with a bigger organization helped us a lot to learn about all the challenges we would face as a company going forward.